Bill, when you were at Iowa, you had Chuck Long and Chuck Hartlieb, and even early here, a lot of pocket-style quarterbacks. I'm wondering when the quarterback run game really started to pique your interest and the things that you could do with it.
Well, we've always been invested in it. I mean, we've always had to go back, forever. I think you always have to fit the needs and the capabilities of the young people you have in your program, whether it's that position or any other position. And, we've been blessed to have those, what they call them, dual threat guys over a period of time, and we like to have that. I mean, that's the way the system works for us, but we've always done it, just in varying degrees from year to year.
Yeah. Back when you first got into the Big Eight, it seemed like a running quarterback was just that. At Nebraska, he ran the triple option, but you kind of took it a different way than a lot of teams are doing. How was that received, I guess, maybe among coaching brethren?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I have absolutely no clue.
It was unique, though, at the time, was it not?
Well, I think there was a period of time when it was. I don't think it is now. No. But yes, it was, and that plays to an advantage. If you're doing something that that maybe people haven't seen over a period of time, and they're not acclimated to it. But that's the nature of football. Football evolves, and what goes around comes around. I mean, whatever it was will reinvent itself in a different way, and it'll be back again. And I think that's kind of the nature of the evolution of offensive football as it relates to the evolution of defensive football as well. Everybody's trying to get an advantage, and so you try to enhance the things you're doing, and so that's the evolution of offense, I guess.
Coach, last two top 10 teams that have played here, one was Landry Jones, and he threw the ball a lot, and then Taylor Martinez, he ran the ball a lot. What will fans see out here from Nick Marshall and what he can provide offensively if they haven't seen him before in this game on Thursday night?
Well, I would hope nothing. He's a talented young guy, and he can do both. He can throw it and he can run it, and his numbers indicate exactly that. They say that it's a team that likes to run the football, and that's their first emphasis. But they'll throw the ball. They'll try to cast it downfield, and he has the ability to do that. He's got a strong arm. So what they'll see him running the ball, and they'll see him throwing it.
You either some of the quarterbacks that you've had, or maybe ones you've gone against, who does he maybe most remind you of, and why?
I don't know. Maybe just I don't know, L. Roberson type, Michael Bishop type, perhaps. But I don't know. I mean, there's differences between all of them, but that's my best answer.
Especially another question on him, especially towards the end of last season, the final 4 games against top 25 teams, a couple top-ranked teams there. How did you maybe see him elevate his game in the face of top competition?
Well, I think he's a young, dedicated athlete. I think he'd play hard and prepare well no matter who he plays. I don't think, you 365 days in a year and you get 12, 13 opportunities. That's on a percentage basis, that's quite low. So, I don't think anybody in this game this game or any game, just the game of football period, doesn't prepare themselves well. And I don't think anybody, says, I'll take this game off. And, I think he'll be as well prepared as he can and be as motivated as he can.
Coach, you've been asked a lot the last week or so about Auburn's offense, but what about their defense? What really stands out to you about their defense, and what do you see as a strength for them there in that area?
Well, they're physical and fast. I think they're fast in the perimeter people and physical and quick with the front people. And they're a north and south football team defensively. Their defensive people are not necessarily. I mean, their front four are not necessarily readers. They're guys that get in the stance and get their pads down, and they come off the line of scrimmage. They make it a very physical game. I would anticipate that's what we'll see.
Coach, Gus Malzahn has credited the single wing for some of the elements of his offense. You two have done that. How unique is that in this current spread offense environment that two coaches have gone back to such traditional roots of college football, and how has that affected your preparations for Auburn compared to what you normally do in the Big 12?
Good question. How it affects us is at least we have some opportunities to present similar type things to our defense because we've invested in them over a period of time. I think perhaps that helps. Perhaps the fact that our defense has worked so much against our ones and our twos and doing some similar things. We don't do everything they do. They don't do everything we do, but that we do have some differences in our styles. But it boils down to I don't know how Gus defines it, but I think when tons of years ago when we spoke about our offense being a replica of the single wing, it's just a matter of basically because single wing you think about you pull everybody in, you line up a whole bunch of guys back there and you go north and south, and that's it. But that really wasn't what was meant by it. It was just the fact that that you don't have a guy under center taking the ball and handing it to somebody else, and consequently use up. Now you've only got 10 guys in the running game as opposed to using all 11. And when your quarterback can run the football, then that's what it is. He's back there, and you can line it up like with a single wing concept. In other words, the guy that catches the ball from the snap is the guy that's going to run the ball. Now, and that's the only element of it. I mean, because you've got to have a guy back there that can throw it equally as well as as he can run it, and and then add all the dressing to it. And Auburn is very good about that because they've got a lot of the window dressing that goes along with it that makes it because you do have to defend against formations and you have to defend against motion, and so neither their offense or our offense are that easily adapted to, just because there's a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes it's eye candy, sometimes it's not.
You mentioned that Auburn does a lot of formations and motion. At times last year, they actually didn't run many plays. They just ran them out of a variety of different formats. How's that affected your preparation, and have you seen different things from this year with now Nick in his second year, they've been able to expand that a little bit?
Well, you watch so many tapes and games that sometimes it kind of runs together. But there is a lot of people say just exactly what you said, and certainly the base of their offense is within a certain package. Things that they're going to run more frequently than they do, or have run more frequently than they have others, and they dress it up with so many different formations and motions. But there's still a pretty broad package in regards to offense, which is similar to us. There's things that we have more game day repetitions on, that we run more frequently or have run more frequently, but we've got a pretty broad base of other things that accompany that, and so your preparation has to be broad-based as well. So you got to be prepared for all of it and get focused on the on the condensed package.
Coach, have you seen an elevation in that intensity and that focus and all the kind of the degrees of improvement that you seek?
Well, I think that there's a little up and down to it, as I always say. But I think our guys are seemingly focused on the task at hand. There's, I think, if you ask if you ask them, probably what they would say is they're anxious to play, and I like to think that anxiousness is really excitement to play, and I hope that's indeed is the case, and I hope it carries into this afternoon, and that we practice with that excitement about playing the game and still stay focused on the task at hand today. But I've seen our guys have a legitimate focus. Yes.
And I guess in simplest terms, what kind of opportunity does this game present, not only to the program, but just this team in general, this current team?
Well, you can put all the numbers to it, and whatever fourth, fifth ranked team, and ours, whatever it is. But again, to me, things get blown out of proportion. I mean, it is. What's important for us is that we get better, and that we prepare ourselves as well as we can. You want, I'm sure any football coach in the country wants the players to honestly, and that honestly is a valuable word, honestly believe that they will win and can win. And I want our players to do exactly the same thing, with the understanding that you have to do certain things. Too many people, they talk about, what's the term everybody uses, expect to win. And you can expect to win, and should have that attitude if you prepare yourself. It's just like the things that you do. If you don't prepare yourself well, you probably can't be successful at what you're trying to do. If you prepare, and that's the whole element, is preparing yourself day in and day out. Be in the moment. Thursday we're going to have meetings here at 2:30. We need to be invested in those meetings, learn something from them, get better at them, go to the practice field. The same thing needs to take place. It's just a continual basis, and we're talking about a season. This isn't a season. Thursday night's not a season. Thursday night is another game, and it's the most valuable game that we will play so far this season. And the following week will be the most valuable game that we will play during the course of the season. So it's just a step at a time, and I've never tried to make it any different than that.
I guess kind of along those lines, when there is a game like this, when the players are excited for it, do you feed off that and let them just go about it and play a little harder than maybe they normally would, or do you step in and try to keep them?
Well, I'm not going to stop anybody from playing harder than they have been. Why would I do that? That's a Steve Spurrier answer if you saw television the other day.
So when but I guess what I'm asking is that when you have a game that people are excited about, do you just let them go with that, or do you have to warn them about, I don't know?
Well, our message is continual. It's today, it's tomorrow, it's the next day. It is always the same. And so a day doesn't go by that I'm not going to address our players about, taking care of today. And, I have no issue with enthusiasm and excitement. I'm all in favor of that. I try to promote that. I try to get our leadership to step up and promote that. I want to see spirit on the practice field and spirit on the game field. I want to see them play with emotion. We talk all the time about, emotion and execution and effort, and you can put those three things together and have a great opportunity to succeed. I want those things to take place, but you want to make sure that A, that it's legitimate, and B, that it doesn't interfere with, and it doesn't, with your preparation, because that is part of the preparation. Execution is part of the preparation. Emotion is part of the preparation. All of it goes hand in hand.
One question on Nick, having recruited him, do you remember, was there a game or a moment or something about him that turned you onto him and said, we need to offer this kid a scholarship?
Well, just watching him play. He was, talented young guy, could do all the things that we talked about already. So.
There wasn't one moment that stood out to you about his junior college career or anything like that?
Well, no, I can't say that. I enjoyed meeting him. He was a good young person. I liked him as an individual.
their run game, Coach. Is this a different preparation for you than what you see in the Big 12 because they are more of a traditional line it up power run game, even though they sprinkle the quarterback in there and only throw it about 30% of the time when Nick's in there?
Well, it's different, and the percentages are probably somewhat immaterial. The idea that is it a little bit different? It's a little bit different than what we normally see on a regular. We see parts. Every week we'll see a part of somebody's offense that is similar to or equates to Auburn's. And the next week we'll see something else that equates to some facet of Auburn's offense. So you see all of it, but they have it all in one package. So and as I said, our preparation is probably enhanced a little bit defensively in terms of some of the things that we do offensively. So when we're going good on good, we can replicate that a little bit, and we're able to do so during the camp period of time.
Coach, last season Auburn had a bye week in September. They came back improved in every category offensively, scoring an average of 11 points more in those final last 9 weeks, I would say. So do you believe that you're going to see a more improved team this time around?
I think that's the nature of athletics, is that, if you're doing it the right way, and if your players are invested in it, your coaches are invested in it, then there should be improvement week in and week out, day in and day out, week in and week out. So my guess is they're focused on that, and that's important to them. I'm sure it is, and just as it's important to us. So I would think, if we hold true to what we believe in, then yes, they will get better, and we'll get better.
Now, you like to play conference games later in the season. Do you feel that way about bye weeks too? Would you rather have a bye week later in the season rather than early?
Probably a little bit later. You can't really, it's hard. The conference has got, so many teams to try to deal with, and then you've got all the TV stuff that goes along with it. So it's, it's hard to get them right where you want them. Not interested in 3. That's not, what you would like. Like I said, the players are anxious to play. Well, when you have all that time off, sometimes that, it's easy to say you could lose an edge, but sometimes you need it. I understand that, but to have 3 of them, that's a little discerning. But not anything I'm worrying about right now.
And with that said, do you think that this extra time preparing for Auburn will benefit you guys?
Well, yes, I think it benefits us, but it probably also benefits them. And so, whether it's a wash or not, I don't know. I just hope and pray that we're working on the things that we're going to see on Saturday. And when you have that extended period of time, there's always a possibility that you could invest that extra time in doing things that you haven't put on the field before, and so your opponent has no, earthly idea that that's what they're going to see. So I hope we see what we've seen in the past. And plus, just seeing it isn't the answer. We've got to be able to, play well against it, both offensively and defensively. Comes down to the same thing it does no matter who you're playing.
Bill, Auburn hasn't played a road game yet this year. How big, and I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be crazy, how big of an advantage can home field and the crowd be, and maybe even do you have a message for your home fans?
Well, just be who you are. They've always, our fans have always been great. Our students have always been great, and they do it in a classy manner as well. I appreciate that a great deal. It can have an impact. It has had an impact here, even though we're small by numbers comparatively speaking. Still, it has an impact. I know they will have some concern about it. They've indicated that's exactly the case. But, you'd have to think that, they've had experience playing in those 80, 90, 100,000 seat stadiums, and, there's noise in those as well. So it's not as though they don't have the experience doing it. We'll see how it plays out. But the idea that it can have, it can be a part of, environment of the ball game that can be a positive, for the home team. That's certainly true. For a lot of reasons, it's not always just the noise. I mean, that's a factor, but there's other things there as well. Familiarity.
Bill, the junior college transfers, how much close are they to contributing on game day, and are any of those candidates the red shirt this year?
There's possibilities that there will be some red shirts there, but I haven't given up on the possibility that it would have to come pretty quick before I'd waste a year. But I think there's a couple of them that are in the throes, perhaps, of being able to get themselves on the field here pretty quick.
Having the extra time, how have you altered your preparation? I know you said that you try to make as much a game week as possible, but you do have some extra days. Has that been all Auburn, or how have you spent?
Well, early last week, our time was devoted to, trying to correct mistakes, if you will, trying to enhance our execution and our performance level and all that goes along with it. We took some time off to get their legs back underneath them as well, to heal up some bruises. We started our preparation. I mean, in our minds, today is Thursday, and yesterday was Wednesday, and so on down the road. So we started our week of practice on Saturday, which was a Monday for us, and we worked on Sunday, which was a Tuesday for us, and so on down the road. So they're in a normal game week mode starting on Saturday. And previous to that, yes, we had practiced. We had taken a couple of days off. We had practiced as well.
Has this been a pretty good team as far as maintaining focus? It seemed in the off season you were pretty pleased with the way they had gone about.
I think for the most part, there are some exceptions from time to time, but I think collectively, for the most part, they have been a conscientious football team. I'm proud of a lot of things that they do. Yes.
Compared with other teams, would you say?
Well, I don't know about comparison with other teams right now, but I just think there's a certain discipline that has to be present in order to have the kind of focus and concentration on detail that's necessary day in and day out. And I think they've sustained that, I think, reasonably well.
Coach, with a game of this magnitude coming up, I want to take a look back at an historically dominant area of your team, with it having a chance to play an impact on Thursday. I've been doing some research and understanding the depth and talent of special teams during your 23-year tenure. Can you give me an idea just how that area is crafted from the beginning of your career, and how maybe it's changed, heading in year 23?
Well, I can just tell you what Sean and I feel about, and all of our coaches, because all of our coaches have a teaching responsibility in regards to the special teams. So, first and foremost, I want everybody invested in it because I want everybody invested in special teams and realizing the significance of it and the value of it. We spend, meeting time. We probably spend a little bit more in the way of meeting time, probably spend a little bit more in the way of practice time with special teams than most. I can't speak for others, so it's probably not a totally fair statement, but my guess is that we attempt to do that. I've always promoted that that every player in our program is available for special teams, so that it's not always your number two or your backups that are on the field on special teams. If a guy is number one in a position that's somewhat compatible with the special teams unit, then we want him on the field. If people say, well, you don't want to wear your guys out, and a lot of people don't on special teams, because you kick off return, you punt, cover. et cetera. All that requires some significant running. And you'd like to have quickness and speed on there, and so does offense and defense. So, you know, if you have, you know, your ones available to play on special teams, you probably enhance your quickness and your speed would be my guess. So, you know, it's just a philosophy, I think, as much as anything, and you know, we never step away from its value, I think, and understanding the number of snaps that you're going to have in the ball game, the field position impact that it has, the turnaround capacity that it creates for you. So, I mean, and we've been, I don't think we've gotten off to as good a start in special teams. I mean, in some things we've done well, some things we've held our own, some things we haven't done nearly as well. We had last ball game, we had a short punt and a quick return against us. That's, you know, unfamiliar territory for us. That's not a good thing, quite obviously. But you know, over the years we've been very productive, and you know, I think we've had, you know, in each of the last, when you put them all together, we probably ranked, you know, in the top 10, you know, each of the last X number of years. I don't know what that number is, so. But they're important to us, I guess. That's
As far as your defense matching up with Auburn, are you more concerned with their speed at the skill positions or the size of their offensive line, just the size and strength?
well, both. I don't think I don't get overly invested. You know, I think all of it is, you know, they have good people that, you know, everywhere across the board, and the things that you mentioned are exactly what would get your attention, you know. And as I said before, I think they're physical up front. They have good size up front. They're a North and South football team. You know, when you look at their back seven, I mean, they're good. I mean, they can run laterally. They have good speed, good quickness, good change of direction. You know, all of it. So, you know, it's, you know, all of it is something that you really have to prepare well for.
Coach, how do you balance? You want to respect Auburn, you want to respect a team as highly as them, but how do you balance not over respecting them to the point where you elevate them to making this a bigger game than it is?
Well, you keep and you know, I can't tell you that it's easy, and just because I say it doesn't always mean that it happens, but you know, it's the element of what we try to do a day at a time, and it's about us. You know, it's about our preparation, it's about our focus, it's about our discipline, it's about our toughness. You know, it's about our preparation, and it's not a matter of whether, you know, that's versus Auburn or whether it's versus Oklahoma or Iowa State or whoever it happens to be. It's the same way, you know, week in and week out. It really is about us and our preparation. And so that's not, I mean, you can't get caught off, I don't think. And, you know, there's enough highs and lows when you talk about something as emotional as a game of football. And you don't want to toss in, you know, this team's way up here and this team's way down here, and you know, back and forth, because then you impact the emotions of a player in negative ways, which you try to fight against all the time anyway.
Last question. We haven't seen Tyler Lockett return a kick or punt yet this year. Do you anticipate that changing on Thursday or beyond?
At some point in time it will, yes.